This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And also make sure you follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields, as Ian Seymour did his job today, to say the least. Rays beat the Blue Jays 2-1 as they continue to trek toward trying to finish the year 500. So I was listening to the radio broadcast on my way home. And something that is interesting is Boston, it could only end up being a game and a half up on Cleveland for the wild card if Cleveland won 6 in a row, if the Red Sox lose to the A's today. I thought that was stunning. Now that the Rays are out of it, I haven't really been looking at the wild card, obviously, but it just really shows. I feel like if the Rays would have won that Cleveland series, like if they would have won that series 3-1 instead of the other way around, then we're looking at the Rays maybe not being that close, but definitely not being like 8.5 back or what they're at now. But make sure you guys get those comments in. We'll be getting them momentarily, but we're going to break down how the Rays got the big hit in this one. The Rays didn't group together a ton of amazing scoring chances, but another game where the Rays had, most of the time when you see 8 hits, you see more than 2 runs. So obviously the Rays got it started in the first, had a runner scoring position in the 4th, had a runner scoring position in the 5th, in the 7th, obviously when Chandler did his job, and then closed it out from there. But we'll talk about how not enough people are talking about how Yandy's having an insane season, and not enough people are talking about it. So I'm going to give him his love. We're talking about the lineup that the Rays put out today against a right-handed pitcher. That was really interesting. But then we'll look ahead to the final game tomorrow. But first, we got to talk about how Ian Seymour was fantastic.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Yesterday's show saying who's gonna it's basically an open audition for that last spot in the rotation, and Ian Seymour went and put his name into the ring today. He was fantastic. His final line ends up being 7 innings, 4 hits, only 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, career high 100 pitches as well. He was in the zone, didn't mess around. Anytime you see that walk number 1 or lower for Ian Seymour, he's doing his job, and his only run ended up coming unearned as well. It just speaks to his dominance. Again, he's not doing it with any crazy swing and miss stuff. He had 7 swings and misses. Again, that's nothing crazy. He just goes out there and he attacks. He attacks you. He's in the zone, and he gets soft contact. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Rays do with that fifth spot. It's going to be really interesting. Like normally, he was very fastball cutter, changeup heavy. Loves throwing that cutter into the hands of the righties. He only threw it 1 time against the lefty. Loves the cutter against the righty. It's really cutter changeup versus righty. A lot of the righties, and there obviously mostly righties for the Blue Jays today against the lefty. But it's going to be really interesting what the Rays are going to do for that 5th and final spot. How high are you on Adrian Hauser for one? You know the names that are going to be there. Pepio is going to be there. I'm already blanking on names. Rasmussen's going to be there. Fingers crossed that Shane McClanahan is gonna be there. And so it's going to be Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Ryan Pepio. Those are your guys. And then you have Ian Seymour, Joe Boyle, Shane Baz. Joe Boyle was really good 2 games ago. Shane Baz is going tomorrow. Ian Seymour is great today. I'm still in the camp that I would love to see Adrian Hauser back at the right price, right? So anyway, but let's say they just stay in-house. That's 3 people to fill 2 positions. And I think Shane Baz is going to get another look next year. So you're really picking between Seymour and Boyle. And it's going to be really interesting to see what the Rays do with that going forward. And, Ian Seymour continues to impress. 2.5 ERA this year. If I had to pick right now, if Adrian Hauser's out of the running, my final spot would go to Ian Seymour. So I had to talk about Ian Seymour. He was fantastic. But that's also why he was our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Only 4 hits, too. When you look at this lineup, Springer had a great resurgence. Vladdy's one of the best hitters in the game. And obviously they're missing Bo Bichette, but he'll be back sooner. He'll be back for the playoffs for the Blue Jays. But holding any lineup to 4 hits in 1 run through 7 innings is just dominant stuff. So cannot say enough about Ian Seymour, but our turning point comes in the 7th inning with Chandler Simpson.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The Rays were just clawing and scratching to get that big hit. And it finally happened in the 7th, all with 2 outs. Carson Williams, who'd been struggling this last little bit, doubles, and then Chandler immediately gets him home. So the Rays doing the damage with two outs, and then cashing in when they get the runner scoring position, something that they could not do last game. It just couldn't be done last game. Good to see the Carson Williams also get a walk as well. But Chandler has been on quite the tear lately. 3 hits today. He's had a lot of those lately. He had 4 hits against the White Sox last week. He's had a hit in almost every game except for one when he came into pinch hit against the Cubs. So he's had a hit in his last 6 starts and 3 multi-hit games. So Chandler keeps on doing Chandler things. And again, the Rays couldn't get that big hit yesterday. And today they did. And, they didn't have a ton of chances. Like I mentioned at the top of the show where the Rays had their scoring chances from in. And, it's not something where, the Rays had a ton of chances like that yesterday. I mean, the Rays, you can name 6-7 opportunities the Rays had to kind of take a hold of that game. Today, it was a little bit slimmer. Kevin Gausman's a really good pitcher, and he's someone that I trust the most out of anyone in that Blue Jays rotation as they kind of move into the playoffs. So, again, very happy that the Rays were able to come up with that hit because, I asked the question yesterday, what would you rather see? Would you rather see the Rays lose for that kind of better lottery spot? Or would you rather see them win? I want them to get to around 80 wins. I don't want them to finish in the 70s because I think the talent on this team is better than winning 79 games, in my opinion. I think they're an 80-ish win team. So, again, just like any teams, they have their struggles, especially with injuries. Some that the other team in Tampa, the Bucks, are dealing with right now as well. But the Bucks or the Rays were able to pull this one out in large part to Chandler Simpson. But we're going to talk about Yandy Diaz next because he deserves his flowers. He has been fantastic this year. Not enough people are talking about it. I will talk about it. We're talking about the interesting lineup that the Rays put out, and we're looking to the game tomorrow, right after this. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where we're making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. Our episode is also sponsored by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation, discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. And finally, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like catching a ball game live. The energy of the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, that takes the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed up by the Game Time guarantee. You'll get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price that you pay. Fees are included now. You know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. That is the best part about Game Time now. Download Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download the Game Time app today. Again, if you guys are in the live, make sure you leave a like and comment. Let's talk about Yandy Diaz. He got on base another 4 times today. His average is right around 300, having the second best season of his career outside when he hit 330 and won the batting title. Career high in home runs, career high in RBIs, career high in slugging. Second is his second best WAR season. He's going to end up playing the most games of his career. I mean, I cannot say enough about how good Yandy Diaz has been, man. He has been absolutely money. As we like recently, he's been even better. This is his third straight multi-hit game, and he's been killing the Blue Jays. 3 hits the first game, got on base every time. He's only been retired 2 times this entire series. 3 hits the first game, 2 hits yesterday, 2 more hits today. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 multi-hit games in his last 7 games. He has been insane, and it's not being talked about enough. He's hitting .407 and 54 at-bats in September, and that's only going to go up after this game. In 56 at-bats, he has 24 hits, 10 walks, and now you can add another RBI to make it 7 RBIs. What he's doing is not normal, and I think Rays fans just expect it from him at this point and don't want to appreciate the greatness that's being showed. What Yandy Diaz is doing is fantastic, and he is just money, and he's going to be money next year because the Rays are keeping him around. And there's a reason why there had to have been a big time price to pull Yandy off the Rays from the trade deadline. He has been fantastic. Not enough said about Yandy. And interesting lineup against the righty today. No Josh Lowe, no Brandon Lau. So, anytime there's a righty all season, you've been kind of penciling in those guys to say the very least. And Gosman splits against right and lefties. He's better. He is worse against lefties. He is worse against lefties. Yeah, he's better against righties. And the Rays have used that a lot of times. But even when the Rays use that, you still see a Brandon Lau in the lineup. So we saw Emerson Pereira in right field against a righty. I would love to see Chris Morel tomorrow against another righty as we go to preview that game for the Rays. Shane Baz will be on the mound for your Tampa Bay Rays as they close out this series for in Tampa against Chris Bassett, who's 11-8 with a 3.9 ERA. And you know who owns Chris Bassett? Brandon Lau owns Chris Bassett. So I can guarantee that Brandon Lau will be hitting second in tomorrow's lineup, or second or third. But the last time out, Bassett's been good this year. 11-8, 3.9 ERA, 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned against Baltimore on Friday. He has an ERA of 1.9 so far in September. He's in the midst of his best month of the season. And then there's Shane Baz. Shane Baz has one of the worst qualified ERAs in baseball, 9-12 with over a 5 ERA. We've talked about it. It's not good enough. The stuff is there, but it hasn't mattered at this point. He's been wildly inconsistent. He has 3 straight really good starts, and he has really 3 straight incredibly bad starts that takes away any of the good that he's done. So really hoping for a bounce back for him tomorrow. Was only able to go 2 1/3 his last time out against the Cubs. Really hoping that he can bounce back. Let's take a look at the comments as we go to Gary. He says, good to see the Rays bounce back with a victory. There's still very important games for the Blue Jays and the Red Sox this weekend. Nothing clinched in the AL yet. The Guardians are closing in on the Tigers. Are they closing in on the Tigers or the Red Sox? Let me go look. Pretty sure the Tigers have that pretty wrapped up. Yeah, 4.5 up. It's going to be tough for them to make up the Tigers. But, the Tigers are going to make the playoffs. It's going to be interesting who's going to be in the wild card. The Tigers are not playing well. And, we talked about it the other day. You want to talk about teams I'm low on. Outside of Scooble, there's not a ton I love about the Tigers roster, if I'm being completely honest with you. So good. I love Legos. It says, finally got the plague out of that plague. Hopefully we continue going tomorrow in the series against the Red Sox. Yes, sir. I agree. Gary asks, any update about Junior left the game with back tightness? They said he's day-to-day, not overly cautious. Maybe a day off tomorrow back in there for the Red Sox series as he continues to chase down Carlos Pena. As we does, Bautista says, finally a win. Would nice to have a lefty starter in the lineup next year, in the rotation next year, I think. Maybe Seymour can fill that role. We might have 2, Seymour and McClanahan. People are forgetting it. McClanahan will be back next year unless, fingers crossed, unless he gets hurt. As we go to Gary says, do you think teams will be given a second look at a 6-starter rotation, particularly this time of the year with arm fatigue sets in? Yeah, I'm a pretty big proponent of 6-man rotation, especially, not all the time, but sprinkle it in there every once in a while. I'm not opposed to it. So yeah, I tend to agree as we keep going, as we see Arginus back in here today. Hello, Arginus. He says Ian did more than his job. They played to get at the out. He could have gotten hurt. Yeah, that was rough. As we go, there's a comment here from RWB that I wanted to read. He says Chandler was also a great defensive play that saved 2 runs. Yeah, he robbed Kirk of a home run in the 4th inning. If he plays center field, that helps the Rays out a ton because the Rays need him to play center field in the future. And I hope that the Rays can continue to give him reps in center field. And that can be playing Chandler in center and playing Jake Mangum in left, right? Mangum in right. I think if Chandler Simpson is your center fielder that you see 5 years from now, you need to keep giving him those reps out there. So as we go to Gary says, the Guardians still have 4 more games with the Tigers. Oh, I did not know this. So things get interesting. But that's one of those when let's say the Rays have 4 games this week and then 6. So the Rays have 10 games left. It's tough to make up 5 games and 5 games and with only 10 games left. So I'd be more willing that the Guardians are going to steal a wild card spot than they are going to win the division. So see, I go to I Love Legacies. Do you think Shane Baz we are similarly seeing a similar situation we saw with Taj Bradley? No, because I don't know. When I watch Shane Baz, he just looks better than Taj Bradley, if that makes sense. Like the eye test, Shane Baz passes just a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying like it's a pretty good comparison, Shane Baz, Taj Bradley, but all I know is the Rays really like Shane Baz, so that's why I think he's going to be around. Obviously this year and then next year as well. He's going to get one more year. Next year is going to be his make or break year. He's going to be the 5th starter for the Rays next year, 4th or 5th starter, depending on how they do things, and the Rays can go from there. So we're wrapping it up here, man. It's crazy. 10 games left. We've done over 140 postcasts, and it's just down to 10 games, which is crazy. The game against Toronto tomorrow, 3 against Boston, 3 against Baltimore, and then 3 against Toronto again. Just crazy how this season has kind of just flown by since September. So I can't believe it. I appreciate you guys being in here through every single step of it. And we'll be right back tomorrow. Afternoon game tomorrow, 1 o'clock game tomorrow. Postcast around 3:30 to 4 o'clock. So I appreciate you guys continuing to join, even though the Rays are pretty much out of it. And so I appreciate you guys. You guys are what makes the postcast special. And so I appreciate you guys a ton. And I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon.